Good evening. Welcome to Moments with Lady K and Mistah Show, where they converse on motivational living, clearing negativity from your life, local events, and more. Here are your hosts, Kimberly McLemore and Teryck Coles.
All right. Hello. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Moments with Lady K and Mistah T. I am Kimberly McLemore, better known as Lady K, and on the other end. And who do I have with me this evening?
Mr. T in Heezy.
Oh,
I sound so old when I say that. I don't think anybody says Heezy anymore. Heezy and Sheezy and all that stuff. Oh my God, that's probably. If there's somebody young out there, they're probably like, what is he saying?
Look, we're just going to teach these people a few good things, okay? They need to understand just a few things. So,
right.
It's all right. And it's all right to bring back the old school, so we can teach these new school people something different. And then they're going to pick up on it and take it from you anyway. So you say, oh, it's ours.
You got that right.
Exactly.
This is brand new. No,
right.
It's not.
And like, no, it isn't. But, we'll let them have their moment. We had ours, but. All right. Well, good evening. I'm so glad that we're back. We finally got working our bugs out over here. It has been a long week, but we are glad that we are here. We have an amazing topic to discuss. I'm not going to bring it out just yet. Before we get started with our discussion tonight, I definitely want everybody to know a little bit about who we are, because everybody loves Mr. T. I know I love Mr. T. The rest of y'all, you need to learn and understand who this man is, okay? So I'm going to let you go first now, because we want to make sure that you can hear me. So on the other hand.
I was going to wait and let you go. I mean, we should probably let our listeners know what we're laughing about.
Inside joke.
We had a little tech issue. Yeah, a little tech issue while we were recording. Everything was fine. I should have just been quiet in the background. I was like, anyway. But for all of those out there in Zoom land and Teams meetings, what else is out there? There's Zoom, Teams.
Skype is, people still using Skype too. Mm-hmm.
Skype, FaceTime, all those connectivity apps. Y'all all probably know. Y'all all know, especially if you've been working from home, that sometimes connections don't always work out. So, but anyway, and of course we are working remote, just like you guys are. But once I am Mr. T, I'm here, like I say, in the Heezy for Sheezy. For those of you who don't know what we're talking, what that means, it means I'm here. I'm in the Heezy. That means house. For Sheezy, for sure. Just to break it down in Ebonetical terms, it's for Ebonics.
Oh
I'm sure
boy!
some people are like, "What in the world?" Yeah. But anyway, I'm Mr. T. I'm the owner operator of Move with T LLC here in Northern Virginia, right outside of our nation's capital, Washington D.C., Chocolate City. And Move with T, of course, is a holistic health and wellness business that I created just on the principles. Three major tenets specifically that I will share: being happy, being healthy, and be loved. In every class with that: be happy, be healthy, be loved. Sé feliz, sé salud, sé amor. For those from mi amigos, mi gente en español. So I like to end every class that way, just reaching out to everyone. Although, I'm not well versed in all things wellness and fitness based, but I do teach Zumba, I teach cycle, I teach bar, I teach. I'm also certified in HIIT classes. I have 2 different HIIT certifications, and it's high intensity interval training for those of you who don't know. And I'm looking to get some other trainings under my belt, creating some wonderful things that are coming in 2021, because Corona put one program that I was ready to present in May of 2020, so stay tuned. I will be sharing that with you guys, because some of it will be featured virtually. So if you're not in the DC area, you'll be able to take part in those things. But there's another class I'm creating that's going to be more intimate, and you'll have to be present for that. So if you're not here in the DMV, DC, Maryland, and Virginia, you might miss out. In addition to having that wonderful company under my belt, and it's growing. I am also a doggy daddy to a wonderful little Shih Tzu who is outside the door right now waiting to get in, Mr. Pepper. Kimberly knows him well. He just had his haircut today from the groomer, and so he's like, I want to come in there with you, but I didn't take his collar off, and so he would be making too much noise.
Well, he would just be a part of the show as usual. So,
right. Like I always tell, we always say, if you hear jingling in the background, that's Pepper. Mm-hmm. And then when we used to record and do the videos, he would always be like right near me. So fortunately, it always happened when he had just had a haircut, so he usually looked good. Other than that, I am a monthly contributor to the Z-Beat, a wonderful motivational publication, online publication, where I offer monthly motivation, and you can find me on Instagram, Facebook under Move with T LLC, and follow all the things that I'm doing and all the other wonderful instructors I'm promoting, including the wonderful Lady K, who's right here with me now. And I'm going to kick it over to her to let her tell you more about herself.
Well, thank you very much, sir. And well, like I said, there's so many wonderful things about Mr. T, though. And every time we talk, I always end up learning something new, or either he ends up forgetting something and he'd be like, oh, yeah, I didn't say that, because we have so much going on in our lives, and I'm just the same. So I am the founder and owner of the Women's Small Business Initiative, and also the podcast host for Your Resource for Success podcast right here on iHeartRadio, as well as Spotify and a few other platforms. And so basically what I do is I teach people the power of their voice. And by doing that, making people realize that you can share your expertise and, your stories and of your life and your experiences through podcasts or becoming an author. So obviously I am an author as well. So self-publishing is something that I'm very focused on, and I train people how to do so that they can share their stories and leave their legacy early in life. So that's just a little tidbit about me personally. I am a project manager throughout the day, and I have an amazing son who was grown, handsome, and yes, ladies, he's available, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to let him go yet. So anyway, he would probably be like, really, Mom? But anyway, and I have the cutest little cat, Miss Lucy. That's pretty much my life. So anyway, that's just a little bit about me. And obviously I'm in the Woodbridge area as well here in Virginia. And so been around for about 15 years and just love what I do. And so if you're hearing both of us, we obviously we have two different entities. I don't do Zoom on a regular anymore as a teacher. I used to be an instructor, but I still have my license. And so I'm sure people are wondering, how did you two connect? The love of Zumba is what connected us. And so here we are. We've had our show now for a little over a year. We started out together on one platform, and now we actually have our own platform. And so our differences are different, but our uniquenesses together are what makes us who we are and how we came together as Lady K and Mr. T. So that's just a little bit about us together and about who we are individually. And so now we are going to talk about our amazing topic for the evening. And I just been waiting for this one. When we were talking about this, I guess it's only been a week or so ago. We've been like back to back, doing recordings and stuff. So, I will have to give it to Mr. T over here, because his mind is constantly thinking about topics. I come up with some topics, but he can come up with some topics. And so tonight we are going to be talking about what's lining your pockets. Is it dollars, dreams, or dust? Man, oh man, oh man. I tell you, this one right here, if you're not already thinking about 2021, you should have been probably weeks ago. We're already in fourth quarter, and it's pretty much gone away at this point, and people have already been pushing out. But it really isn't. When I think about certain things, it's not always about what's happening in the quarter. It's about what's happening all year round, and how things are going to affect me from month to month, from day to day, almost month to month, and from year to year. And so when Mr. T came up with this thought process, we have to talk about this. What's lining your pockets? And because I'm on a roll, Mr. T, I'm just going to go ahead and flow with mine first. Like my brain is like,
go for it.
Let me go ahead and just get this out. So, it's funny because we always talk behind, I'm sure most people know, as I always call it the green room, or the back room, or we always talk a little bit ahead of time. And usually, when we have these thoughts, we always try to research kind of where this comes from or why it's coming from, where it's coming, and some of the information. But the one thing I did learn, when I've always heard the term of lining your pockets, not so much what's lining your pockets, but I have definitely heard the term of lining your pockets. And it's always been kind of a negative ordeal of a statement that most people don't like. And it means for most people, they look at it as being, oh, well, you're doing something wrong or illegal when something is lining your pockets. And it's usually based off of money. And so, when you think about this perspective of it, when we're in business and you're looking at the thought process of dollars, dreams, or dust, we all have a bigger perspective of understanding of dollars. We know what that means to most of us. We work hard every day. You want to have your dollars. Dollars is what makes us live. Yes, it does help you become successful, but at the same time, it's one of those situations of it's a must-have, as much as it is a need or a want. And then when you look at the other two items, dreams, what does dreaming mean? What does it mean to you as an individual, and how does that affect you when you're looking at your personal or your professional life, or if you're in business? Are you taking those dreams and are you lining them up with everything that you're trying to get accomplished? What are you doing to get to that point? I guess is how I'm thinking when we're looking at this topic of what's lining your pockets, dollars or dreams. Are you fulfilling your dreams? Are you living those dreams through other people? What are you doing to make sure that those dreams are there and that those dollars are there? How are you getting there? But then here you have the other half of it. We have a lot of people who are lining their pockets with dust. And what does that mean? What is dust? That means it's empty. It's nothing that, when you pull out that inside of your pocket and all of a sudden you see that dust of fluff come up out of that pocket. What happened? How did it get there? It's no different than everything in my thought process that around your house. When you haven't cleaned in a while, you'll see that dust particles are everywhere. And when you wipe them away, you're starting fresh. It's a new beginning. You're taking away the dust and you're trying to move forward. So I guess, it's kind of funny when we're looking at this statement, you almost could reverse it. Are you lining your pockets with dust, dreams, and then dollars? So it depends on, I think, as an individual, what is your processes? What are the steps that you are moving forward with? So if you have dust right now and you want those dust balls to go away, what steps are you going to take to make those dreams that you have in the back of your mind or in the front of your mind come true? And then how are you going to, once you get those dreams come true, where are those dollars going to come from? How are you going to make those dollars? You going to make it rain, or are you just going to, just let it come in and trickle? That's my thought process of this statement of what's lining your pockets. And I could probably go on and on because there's so many different scenarios that you can do with this statement. But I'm going to let my co-host, my man, jump in on this because I know you're ready. I know you've been thinking about how did I come up with this and what made me think about this statement.
Oh, gosh. And I'm the one that came up with this idea. It's amazing, I want to say, the ideas that pop in my head when I'm walking my dog. I'm like, oh, this sounds really good. And then I'm like, let me write this down real quick. But yeah, I totally like definitely a lot of what you said there with what's lining your pockets, because I want to say there was a phrase that people used to say back in the day about line your pockets.
Mm-hmm.
And usually that meant, with money.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think in the literal sense, you're lining your pockets with money. You're putting money in your pockets. But then I remember thinking or reflecting back to, well, what's actually in people's pockets? Not just the cloth that it's made of, but a lot of us have, some of us have dollars in our pockets, although in today's society, since it's headed toward cashless, you might have just a card in there, but the card has money on it, so there you go. But you have your cash, you have your dreams, like when you're hopeful, and then some of us have dust. And so, what does that mean? So I want to start on the other end with the dust, and which is kind of where you ended. So I want to pick up where you left off and then work backwards.
Okay.
So with dust, if we think about it, as you were sharing, dust is the residual. It's what's left over. It's what's flaked off. In dust particles, you may find like dead skin and old hair follicles, and all that which is shed has been shed away. Or I should say all that which has been shed. So it's like the remnants of that which was. And I think it was my grandmother that said this, dust settles.
Mm-hmm.
Dust just finds a place and it just kind of sits there and hangs out and it collects. And I want y'all to remember this because hopefully I'm going to tie this in the way that I want to tie it in. But dust collects. But at the end of the day, when you go through a pile of dust, or you stick your finger through it or wipe it off the counter, just wipe it away, and it's nothing. It doesn't amount to anything. It doesn't mean anything. It goes in the trash and then it disappears. Of course, it comes back again, but that's a whole other story. So
another show, people,
another show. Dust goes back. But basically, it's a whole lot of nothing that you have to continually deal with, and like I said, it's a whole lot of nothing. So that's dust. It was, and now then it is in a new existence, and then it's gone. And then we work into our dreams. And so a lot of artists line their pockets with dreams. What is the city of dreams? Is it L.A. or is it New York? I can't remember which. One of them is like the city of dreams, they call it.
I want to say L.A., but yeah, I'm not sure. I want to say L.A.
So hopefully our listeners out there will let us know, is it L.A. or New York? But one of them is called the city of dreams. I think it's L.A., and that's where people go to be like famous. So, but dreams can kind of get us in a interesting space where, we have some people who are putting their dreams into action, and then other people who are or just dreaming and are coming up with ideas. And I know I've been guilty of this. But they never go into action sometimes. They just kind of, you have a good idea that goes nowhere. And I'm sad to say this as a cycle instructor. It's kind of like taking a cycle class. It's the ride to nowhere because you're on a bike, but you're not going anywhere. You feel like you are, but, you're working out, but you're not actually going anywhere. You're on a stationary bike. So with dreams, when you line your pockets with dreams, it's important to recognize, are you keeping those dreams in your pocket just because it's a nice idea? Like, oh, I like this, and this is great, and I'm going to think about this and daydream about this during the daytime or when I'm on my lunch break. Or are you actually taking those dreams and turning them into action? So are you sticking your hands in your pockets and rummaging through those dreams and rolling them over and moving them around in your pockets? And then that actually takes us into the next place. So if you're taking your dreams and turning them into action, well, actually, hold on. If you're letting your dreams sit there, eventually they turn to dust. And then we end up back where we were. But if you take your dreams and you turn them into action, into the now, then you can create dollars, of course. And not all ideas are meant to be not all ideas are meant to make money. So I don't want this for people to think that this is all about, taking your ideas and making them into money and profiting from those dreams. Because some things are not about making money, but about making an imprint. Depending, it could be philanthropic, it could be any type of thing. So just keep that in mind. But when you take that dream and you turn it into something real, and you turn it into action, you can actually even turn it into dollars, depending on what you're doing. So with dollars, I was thinking about this, and hopefully I'll bring this back around, because I mentioned that dust kind of attracts to itself and kind of settles by itself. But there's also that phrase that money attracts money. You have to be that what you want to be. So when you take your dream and you start making it, and taking it and manifesting it in a way that is coming real and tangible, you can actually, like I said, you can profit from it, depending on what it is, whether it's financial profit or something like I said, philanthropic. You can turn it into something that's real, that manifests something specific. I had a very particular thought that I had here, and now it's eluding me, and I'm like, and I'm sitting here talking in this recording, and it's like, where did that thought go?
It's escaping you. Come back, thought, come back.
Yeah, it's like, this is not the time for it to disappear. I don't know, and I know the listeners out there are like, where are we going with this?
Right.
I had somewhere to go and take y'all on this wonderful journey. But basically, just realize that it's about what's lining your pockets. If you're taking the dreams and turning those dreams into dollars, that's a great thing. If you're only all about the money, I do want to say, if you're only about lining your pockets with dollars, you do have to be also mindful of that. Because what is the saying? Money is the root of all evil. Mm-hmm. So although I don't necessarily ascribe to that specific scenario, but if you're only looking at it to be profitable financially, yes, you may be profitable financially, but what does that cost you on the other end? You may make this money, but do you have any dreams left? Like, did you just turn all your dreams, take all your dreams and put them in a factory and manufacture them into product that you can put out and you can make money from, but you don't have any real fulfillment within yourself? Or are you taking those things, and are you processing them in a way that is something that will be beneficial to humankind, and everyone is like, oh, this is useful. I didn't know I needed this, but I have this now, and yes, I want more of this, and this is what I need. So, I hope that made sense to our listeners.
Yeah, you make sense. I mean, because what you're basically saying, I mean, it when we're chasing money, you lose your purpose. And I think, and we've had this stuff, this kind of discussion before, and I've even had other discussions with other friends. And we, when you're in business, we all originally want to chase that money, but when you aren't successful with it, it's because you're not understanding what that purpose is. Like I said, you may right up front, get that big boost, and, all of a sudden you're making all this money, but when you leave out the essential part of what your purpose is and the reasoning of why you wanted to either be in business or fulfill a dream. Well, like I said, it's not always about money, but a lot of times because of the world we live in, excuse me, it's always about money. If you don't have money, you can't get this. If you don't have money, you can't live this way. If you don't have money, you can't purchase that. It's always this, the communities in the world we live in, everything is about money, because if it wasn't about money, we wouldn't see poor. You wouldn't see people struggling. But, the sad part about it is that because we live in a world that's based off of money, and that's our focus, that's the reason why everybody is saying, people need help all the time. You need to help these people because, these people don't have money. They don't have opportunities. So a lot of people aren't able to fulfill their dreams, and they see dust consistently selling because they don't always have the opportunities. And then, for those who do have opportunities, they don't always fulfill those dreams because of other reasons, whether it's fear or just not prepared, don't know how to go through, make that first step. It all aligns to everything that we're talking about it just kind of comes around back into this circle. So what you're saying is absolutely correct. You know, chasing money, if that's all you're doing, you're not going to be fulfilled. You may be in the beginning, but down the line, you're going to crash because you're killing yourself just to make that dollar.
Right. And too, like, especially in, I want to say this day and age, like, I remember growing up and, you know, starting a business was, at least from my little eyes at the time, was supposed to be hard. Like, you have to really think it out. And, like, you know, to think it out, you have to present something to, like, a bank or some financial institution where you can get the support and you can get investors. And that's to say people don't do that today, because that still happens. But in some way, shape, or form, I do feel like in this day and age that so many people focus more on branding and branding themselves, that they lose sight of the purpose in doing what you're doing. Yeah, okay, my name is Tiffany or Brandon, whatever, you can pick a name. But, you know, what do I stand for? Who am I? Why am I here? Not to just push products and pump stuff out to people, but, you know, I think it's important that people be thoughtful about what it is that they're doing and investing in the products that they're also promoting, whether it's their other products or products that are their own. I think it's easier when it's the product that's your own because you created that, so you have a connection to that. But when it's something that's not authentically yours, I often find myself wondering when I see people promoting product X, like, is this something that they really use? Right. Yeah, you showed me on camera this one time, you know, how you used it. Maybe you did a repeat, maybe, you know, 6 months later. Oh, I'm still using this, and look at my skin, or look at how this fits, or look at how this works in my regular life, or whatever it is. I'm like, are you really using this, or are you just trying to promote this product so you can get money?
Exactly.
So that kind of brings it all back, you know, like, what's really in your pocket? What is lining your pocket? What is driving you to your own version of success? Is it you just want money? Do you have dreams that you can turn into something that can be worthwhile? Are you stuck in your dreams and you're just in that clandestine, wonderful, like, oh, I'm just a creative and existing in this space, but you're not actually doing anything outside of just creating? Or are you just sitting around just, I don't want to say taking up space, but are you just sitting around twiddling your thumbs, pulling wind out your navel? What's up?
I hate to say it, but that's taking up space. Okay, you're basically existing. Okay, and a lot of people do that, and some people feel that they have that right, and you're absolutely right. You have every right to live your life the way you want. I just find that it's important that for those who are ambitious and want to have a different lifestyle, that they shouldn't be judged because of their success. And I think that's where my panties get twisted, because people are constantly judging, oh, well, they shouldn't be making that type of money, and, you know, why aren't they sharing with everybody? Okay, well, what did they have to do to get to that point? You know, people will want something and want to have their hands out, and they're judging, and they're frustrated because other people are doing well, but they've earned that. Some people, majority of people who are in business, they're earning that. They're not just waiting for somebody to give it to them. And they have every right to decide how they want to utilize the money that they have earned. And obviously what people need to understand, they wouldn't be successful if it wasn't for people, period. You know, that's how we become successful, is because people believe in who we are. They believe in the products or the services that are being provided. You know, and so everybody has that opportunity. It's just that, honestly, we all realize that not everybody wants to be a boss. Not everybody wants to be in business. Not everybody wants to have other people that they have to lead. And they, you know, they may just want to lead themselves, and there's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, you know, aligning your pockets is a choice to some degree. When you have opportunities, that choice is there. It depends on like we were saying earlier, do you want it to stay dust? You want that dust to settle and it keeps coming back even when you wipe it away? Or do you want to turn that dust into something, into a dream? Take that and move it to the next level, because, you can still have dreams, but if you're not active and you don't have a plan, it just stays stagnant. So you're always going to go back to dust, because those pockets will always be lined with that, like I said, when you open them up, you see all that crap coming out of your pockets, or whether it's on a table, anything that you can see that's still stuck there, it's letting you know you have a clear slate. You have opportunity after opportunity to try over and over and over again to make yourself be successful in the way that you are comfortable with. So it's not about what other people do. And I think that's the other biggest thing that we find in today. Like I was listening to what you were saying, T, about how there was a time when you actually had to earn, your business, and people really, you had to be out in front of them. You had to go and talk to the banks. You had to go and sit down and show your business plans. Some of that still exists today, but because that we have technology, people don't even have to do that anymore. They can start a business and be successful overnight, but it's not about the overnight success. It's the consistency. You may be a one-hit wonder, but are you going to be there for the future? So I think that our conversation tonight has been absolutely important to think about. 2020 has been crazy, but what amazed me about 2020, even with all this craziness, more people became successful this year than they have ever in their lives of being in business, or even not even in business. People have made money like no other. And a big part of that has been because of technology.
Yeah. So true. Just thinking about all the people on Just for Fans and OnlyFans. Yeah. I wonder where that's going to be in 10 years.
Exactly. Because everything that we're so used to doing, you no longer, have to stand in front of a person. Everything we're doing, like we said, like you were saying earlier, we're Zoomed out, we're, Teamsed out, and we're YouTubed out. Everybody is using the same technology, but there are some people who have figured it out that, utilizing the technology, they can make 10 times more money than what they did previous, because now you're not forced to actually have to rush to stand in front of people consistently. Everybody, you have to go and rent out a place, and you got to figure out how many tickets you need to sell and how many people are going to. Now that you can do everything from the comfort of your home, people are actually making money. Like I said, they're doing better than they ever have. And so our thought processes and our mindsets had to change because we were forced to. So the biggest problem with this is, though, what happens when the internet stops? What happens when the technology is not there? How are people going to survive? You have to have a balance of everything. And so you can't take everything away that you used to know. You need to still be able to readjust if you need to. But I personally can say that I have enjoyed, as much as I miss seeing people, I've actually enjoyed being able to have more control of my environment, about what I want to do with my business, how I want to do it, how it affects people, how I can reach further in that perspective than what I was able to before, because people are now more focused on what it is that you're doing, because they're forced to sit down and actually watch or listen and pay attention, versus ripping and running and having to feel like, oh, I got to be here, I got to be there. But then at the end of the day, you've gone to 10 places and you actually have not gained any knowledge, because you're trying to do too much. That's just my opinion. That's what I've seen.
No, I love that. Especially like thinking about what happens when the technology stops. Like, how do you counterbalance that? Because we're so used to pre-COVID, we were so accustomed to balancing being in person, and then virtual was a nice option. Now virtual is the norm, and being in person is the option. So, and this is off topic, but I was actually talking with a friend of mine who's a teacher, a school teacher, and I was like, well, what happens? And he was talking about how when the kids come back, they're prepping for that when it's time for them to be back in person. I'm like, well, that's going to be an interesting transition, going from strictly virtual to being in person. And I know some schools are doing, and this is like K through 12, they're doing, for the ones that can, they do, some days you're present in school, but then some days some days you're virtual.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like its own thing. And then some people are just doing virtual. And then I don't think there's anybody just doing all in person at this point, but Godspeed to them if they are. But yeah, no,
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
God love you.
Yeah,
but I really love what you're saying there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just learning to have that flexibility and understanding that you don't have to just do one thing. And, it's funny because when I started my business 4 years ago, almost 5 now, when I started, the biggest thing I kept preaching was that, we can't always be in the same room all the time. And so wanting to have a virtual membership program available as for resources for entrepreneurs, women coming into business, people kind of laughed at that. They were like, oh, nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to give you a monthly membership fee, to sit there and talk to you on virtual. Well, and guess what? What are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
Almost, 4 years later, I'm, everything I was thinking and preaching, we're doing right now. And people are making a boatload of money because we are forced to have to change our habits. And so, when we get back to that, what we consider normal again, it won't be considered normal because people will still have those options. And, and you and I have talked about this many times, when it comes to the classes, it's like, hey, do we really want to put ourselves back into it? People have truly gotten comfortable. I like it. I can get up out of my bed and go and put my workout clothes on and go in my room, and I can get my little Zumba on, in my space. And you're healthy, you're still getting your exercise, obviously you can say hello to people virtually, and it isn't the same, being live versus being virtual, but it still gives you that option. So when things do be considered get back to normal, like you're saying now, you're doing some live classes now. So you can see that difference in the feeling of what it feels like to have a partial class or either have a virtual class, because you've been able to do both. So you can probably express that a little bit clearer, and what that means to people. And then what is that going to look like for you, I guess, in the future? Are you going to maintain that? Are you going to do both, or are you going to go strictly back to live? I'm just asking. I'm putting you on the spot, T.
like asking for a friend.
I'm just, it's just funny how we think about it. This is kind of coming out of my head. I'm like, what? This is really a good, another portion of the topic that really kind of realigns back to the circle that we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I'll say for me, nothing replaces the feeling of an in-person class or event, because you have all the energy that's just like there. However, there's also energy from the virtual experiences, because I've yet to attend a virtual session or event that I didn't feel accomplished at the end. Like, yes, all right, I'm into it. One thing I like about the virtual events, especially if I'm not actually teaching, I'm just a participant. If I hear a song I like, I can stop. I can stop dancing without them seeing me, and let me Shazam this song real quick, without being intrusive,
right.
Or if I like that move, let me record this so I can catch that move again, so I can implement that myself,
right?
And then and then not make the instructor uncomfortable. Not recording an entire routine. I'm for those out there listening, not recording an entire routine.
Right.
Just recording pieces that I like that. And let me record that so I remember how to do that later. I can practice it. I don't do that all the time, because a lot of times I just want to just participate. And with virtual events, there's still a sense of community. And oftentimes, many of the events that I've done and been a participant in that have been virtual, you see all these faces like in the gallery. you know, like 30, 60. I'm like, wow, look at all these people. Or you're like, wow. Even if it's like 10 people, it's like, it seems like it's a lot because, you know, it's like, wow. But then when you're in class, like in person, there's one studio that I teach in that has an occupancy of 100 people. But because of COVID, only 22 people are allowed to be in that space at any given time. So that's a difference of 80 people.
Right.
That's a drastic transition. Even though everybody's spread out and the spaces are marked off, it's different. It seems full, but it's not. And so, so I don't know which I prefer. I like the balance of both, of being in person and virtual. But there's something to be said for the virtual experience that I like that at the end of it, you can allow a certain amount of time and then just sign off and then you're done.
Right.
Whereas with a lot of in-person events, especially having been a presenter just in years past, where, you know, the event ended at 3 and you're still there until 5, you know, chatting with folks because everybody wants to talk to you, which I don't mind. So you all know that I don't mind. But it's just interesting, you know, like, oh, the event ended at 3 and I'm still here talking to folks and taking pictures and chatting and okay, you know, so there's something to be said for that too. But also now, especially with a lot of with the gyms, when you're in person, you know, after class you're supposed to leave.
Right.
So people put on their masks. Like they have to have their masks on when they come into class. They can take them off once they get to their spot, and then when class is over, they're supposed to put their mask on, and then they can leave the class. So people don't tend to hang around like they used to. So that in-person experience has completely shifted now because we're not allowed to kind of like meander and linger and chit-chat. And so, I don't know, but I think virtual, at least over the next couple of years, is definitely going to be a definite it's definitely going to have a place, and people are still going to take advantage of it. You know, with or without a COVID vaccine, I think people are still going to fully take advantage of their virtual options as opposed to in-person things, just across the board.
Right.
So, and I like that a lot of people are having to go back and revisit that. And there's another author who I read an article from her, and I'll have to see if I can find it. And this was from the beginning when COVID first started. She was supposed to be doing a book tour around the world or something, and then COVID happened, and she was like, I had to rethink everything because I think you experienced this too, if I'm not mistaken, where the dates that you had planned, I mean, the dates that were planned to be certain places were slowly dropping off because you can't go anywhere.
Yeah, everything dropped off. Not slowly. They were like, there's nothing live. Yeah. So your whole, all your projects have to be redone. And people, you know, if they didn't want to do virtual, they, you know, we're going to do this next year or the following year. I'm like, so how are you going to set up for next year? You don't know what next year is going to look like. And obviously we can see now that next year is not going to be much of a difference than this year. You know, so it's going to be interesting to see, you know, whether we will be able to hold anything live and in the future, in the near future, at least, you know, maybe towards the end of next year. But I'm not sure about the first between now and spring or summer, to be honest.
Yeah. And I'm thinking that we may get to a point where we're able to do like a lot of what we see with like some award shows and comedy shows that I've seen. And things, as I'm watching things that are on TV where they have like a limited number of people for their audience, their in-person audience. Right. And then everything else is virtual. It's virtual. Like even watching like talk shows, you know, the hosts might be in the studio, but the guests are all virtual, or all the hosts for those shows that come on in the morning, they're all virtual, and, you know, the guests that come on are virtual. So, or, you know, like I say, eventually when everybody's able to get into the studio for shows that, at least for some shows that are just like one host, you see all the social distancing, and they have like a limited number of in-studio audience participants, and everybody else is virtual. So definitely, I think for the next year or so, we're going to be dealing with a balance of that, and we're just going to need to get used to that until we can get back to some level of normalcy.
Right.
But this is our new normal. So.
Exactly. But you know what? There's nothing wrong with teaching yourself how to be creative. And I think this year has definitely been a year of teaching moments, whether you were ready for them or not. And really, I think it does help you balance your personal and professional life out more, because we have truly gotten used to, things kind of slowing down. We're able to be home with our families, and, more often we're not constantly rushing from one place to the next, being on the road. You get off of work, it takes you an hour or two to get from point A to point B, and, you're constantly moving. So now I think that because people have been forced to kind of stand still and let things guide you in a whole different direction. And that's with everything in life. And for us, obviously, with our personal, and in our professional business, in our businesses and our professional lives, we've had to balance all that out. And so I think that the way I personally am seeing the future is that I like that balance, and I would like for that to stay to some degree, because I've actually have taught myself to be able to slow down, to really be able to appreciate being in my home and enjoying the things that are around me, even when some days, it kind of gets on your nerves. But at the same thought process here, that token, it's like, wow, this really isn't as bad as you think. And I guess for me, a big part because of my job, even now I'm on the road, I still have to travel. I still have to do things that are a part of my job. So, having the opportunity to come back home versus having to rush back to the office per se, and having to rush back into that lifestyle, I'm able to balance things much, much better. So it is going to be interesting to see what we consider the new normal within the next year. And then, of course, the year after. I think that, like I said, the first part of next year is going to be no different than what we're doing now, because things are still moving forward with, things with the COVID and all that, trying to get things back to normal, getting ready for the vaccines and all that. So there's all these things moving. But, as far as us individuals and us people, we're still not going to be safe yet. And so I'm still okay with knowing that I can be in my home and be safe and still be able to accomplish my goals without feeling like I have to be stuck in an environment where I'm killing myself just to get noticed, so to speak. And sometimes that's even more weary and puts you in a position where you're not able to reach what you want to reach, because there's always so many other people out in front of you that you can see ahead of you, in a way to where, you have to squeamish yourself in between everybody. And that's not really that much different virtually, but you can make yourself seen in such a different way, because that technology is amazing, and if you haven't learned how to utilize your technology, now is the time to learn. And you don't always have to have your face out there, but you can have your voice. And like I'm saying, you can write a book, like you say, you don't just do Zumba, you contribute. You're a writer as well. So there's all these different ways that we can accomplish certain things that we sometimes have put off to the side because we're so busy running. We're so busy trying to figure out how we're going to line our pockets, not realizing that there's always been this piece here that you could have done. We just didn't do it because we're so used to being, comfortable with what we already have. And so this year has been about uncomfortableness and having to balance all that together.
Agreed.
Woo, as usual, we can't ever do nothing 30 minutes. So we are definitely down to the wire of the show. But if there's, is there anything else that you wanted to share, or talk about, or anything else you want? I think we have inspired people a lot this evening. And even though this conversation went from one extreme to the next, the topic of discussion pretty much, in my thought process, it came full circle, and it just helped us open up more doors, when we talk about dust to dreams, to dollars, and understanding what it really means to line your pockets. And how does that look for people in 2021? I know that work never stops when you're trying to live your dreams. So I'm hoping that the listeners realize that their dreams can be had and it can still be done. It doesn't matter what your age is. As long as you're living and you're breathing and you have something you want to do, fulfill it. Because one thing you don't want to do is walk away or leave this earth saying, I wish I could have, I should have done this, I should have done that. It's as one of my books say, are you living or are you existing? It's all about balancing. It's all about doing what you feel like you have to do, and stop telling yourself what you can't do. Stop living yourself through other people's dreams and other people's visions. Start doing you. It's just that simple. And now back to you, Mr. T.
I'm going to say, I feel like you said everything that needed to be said right there. I was over here ready.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm on a flow tonight, okay? I'm rolling.
Yeah. I was like, I'm trying to come up with, I'm trying to make sure I got a nice little witty anecdote, but I was like, well, I don't need to say nothing else after that. So, amen. I'm just going to say, wear your mask and wash your hands.
There you go. And then
get your flu shot.
Yeah. Right. All those are very important things. Well, hey, you know what? But you always have, like I said, when you thought about this topic of discussion, I thought about it and I was like, man, I can't wait to talk about this, because it just really, like I said, amplifies everything that we really do need to think about. And it's not even just about 2021 coming around the corner. It's about that daily portion of our lives, about what, every day is a restart. It just depends on whether you want to continue to restart or you're going to continue to move forward, and so I think that we have definitely given people, our listeners this evening, a lot to think about and to discuss, and realize that the future is what you make of it. So, hey, it's not, we're not talking 20 years down the road. We're talking about your near future, which is right here today. And, I think that the gems in the gold nuggets we dropped tonight, I hope that you all are thankful and learn something from the conversation that we had tonight, because we are always giving our all, and talking, like I said, our experience is what makes us get on this podcast and just, share, because sharing is caring, and sharing is also knowledge, and we all need to have knowledge in order to be able to move forward. We wouldn't even be able to do the show if we didn't have the knowledge that we have. So we're very thankful, and like I said, we hope that everybody has enjoyed this evening. But before we go, Mr. T, do you have any last words before we end for the evening?
Well, I'll just say that ultimately, when we think about today's topic, what's lining your pockets, dollars, dreams, or dust, for all of our listeners, I think ultimately we need a combination of all three in order to be fully balanced, fully human. So you need to take some time to sit down and stay still. That's where your dust comes from. You need the dreams to keep you going, and you need the dollars to keep the roof over your head.
Hallelujah, hallelujah! I got to do the cheesy clap on that one. The cheer is coming on, because that is definitely something that we have to have. Very, very important. So, you're right. You can't live without one or the other. Because when you do, you just actually stagnant. So you hit that one right on the head.
Yay.
Well, now that we both are crazy and we are going to end the evening, we have done an amazing conversation tonight. Like I said, I hope you all enjoyed it. We are here every month. We usually are on Sunday evening on 7 p.m. Eastern time zone. So, hey, look forward to us here for the month of December. We will come out with something fresh in 2021. So we're excited about that coming around the corner soon. But until next time, I hope you all have enjoyed this evening. Mr. T, I love you. Good night. And we will be talking soon.
Mwah.
Mwah.
Good night, everyone. Moments with Lady K and Mr. T will return next month at 7 p.m. Follow us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram.